Sorry. Okay, so a few months ago, around the time when Zion was drafted, and like maybe a few weeks after that, I made a video where I said that this kid, I had some questions about him. You know, like I had question marks about his game. I had question marks about his body type. I had questions about, I don't know, just his potential for success in the NBA. Okay? Now, one of those things that I was talking about was the weight problem. Now, one of the more famous guys, one of the more famous forwards in NBA history that was pretty much overweight, but was successful at being overweight was who was successful despite being overweight was Charles Barkley. But even Charles Barkley had to somewhat tone his body, slim it in ways where the weight wouldn't be a hindrance on his athleticism. And I think Zion is there. Like I did a video where I talked about the weight. I talked about how it would affect his body negatively, how injuries would be persistent, how it would nag his career if he doesn't slim down. I mean, this kid's game is pretty explosive. You can't be consistently explosive against grown men in a professional basketball league if you are, 20, maybe 25 pounds overweight. I've had a lot of criticisms about Zion, and I had some comments where, I don't know, I guess people were more optimistic about his future than I was, but, you know.
The NBA world is eagerly anticipating the debut of Zion Williamson. After tearing his meniscus during the preseason, Zion had surgery in October. He has now started doing individual drills, but no group scrimmages yet. Shannon, how do you think the Pelicans should deal with Zion's return?
Real quick, somebody said a couple of days ago that they think Zion needs to sit out like Ben Simmons. I think if they're planning on investing in this kid long term, I think them sitting him out this year and adding a clause to his contract, like a weight clause to his contract, and also trying to help him keep his weight under control. I think that's what this organization needs to do. But this is the worst team for this kid to be at, because their facilities, from what I understand from last year, they have the worst NBA facilities in the NBA. I think their management all around might be questionable, but I'm just talking about the facilities, the place, the treatments for players, especially like injury recoveries and stuff like that. From what I understand, it's not the greatest. So this organization needs to do a better job there, but they also need to add a weight clause for Zion, and they need to manage his weight, try to do a better job. I mean, this kid's career will be extremely short due to injury if they don't check this now. And I partially blame Coach K of Duke, because there's no way this kid, you have the most successful college basketball organization in the world, in the nation. All right, in the nation. Duke is the most recognized college basketball organization in, I'll just say the world. All right. You mean to tell me y'all make millions and millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars, because of these young athletes who you don't pay? You mean to tell me you don't have the facilities that could help this kid manage his weight, teach him how to take care of his body?
They're doing it right, taking it slow. I wouldn't be opposed to him sitting down for the entire year, Skip.
I think that would be best. I think Zion sitting down for this year and this year alone, just to get his body under control and learning different ways that he could improve his quality of life physically. Because, I don't know, man. I just think, I even said it, 280. When you're 6'8", 6'9", or 6'7", wait, what was he? Like 6'7" or something like that? Around 6'7", and you weigh 280. That's crazy. You have some centers who are 7 feet that don't weigh close to that. I mean, you have some really skinny guys who may be a little malnourished, but I mean, you're bigger than a lot of guys your size, bro. Like a lot bigger. Like LeBron, after he got his physique where he wanted it, he wasn't even pushing 280. I mean, he was around what, 230, 235 maybe? Like somewhere around there, man. 240, 245 is where this kid needs to be.
Where they're trying to change the way he walks and change the way he runs. Just think about that. You've been doing something your entire life, and they said, you know what? We're going to change the way you do that.
Because his weight is a problem. You're lugging around, you're jumping, you're running constantly. Like, your weight is a problem, man.
I mean, the way you walk is just natural. The way you run is just natural. Skip, look. Big young men normally become big old men. Zion Williamson is pretty close to 300 pounds. I don't care what anybody tells you. They can list his weight, whatever they want to list it as. But when you tear your knee and you can't exercise, Skip, when you like that, his weight has gone up. I will give him a set number that he needs to get at before he's able to get back on the court.
There are plenty of basketball players, football players who get hurt, and they have the type of injury that prohibits them from actually working out. They shoot up. Their weight shoots up. They look a lot fatter when they come back. There are plenty of athletes who are examples of that. So I would agree, man. I mean, I would even go a little more extreme. I mean, this kid could be over 300.
And Skip, if he can't reach that number, Skip, he's too heavy. He's going to have these problems if he does not get his weight under control.
His career will be extremely short. And now, instead of people talking about this kid being the next LeBron, they're talking about this kid having the worst parts of a Tracy McGrady's career. Which is sad, man, because Tracy McGrady was robbed of a complete career, man. I mean, even though he's a Hall of Famer, I think that we were robbed of just how much potential that guy had. And Zion, I'm afraid, man, it's going to be the same way if it continues down this path.
I'm sorry. He's 19 and 300. What 19-year-old at 300 pounds all of a sudden become 25 and be 245? That doesn't happen, Skip. He's got to get his weight under control. I don't know if he has a chef and personal trainers on his own, but he needs to get that. I'm thinking that his mom, because what happens, a lot of these guys, they bring their parents to live with them. Skip, he needs to have a full-time chef, and he needs to put him on a regimen, Skip. He's too heavy. It's as simple.
I don't know who Zion's mother is. I've never seen her on TV. I've never seen her in interviews or anything like that. But a lot of times, these mothers, especially if the mothers are close, like really, really close to their sons, they want to be the one to cook for them. They want to be up in their house making them all these meals and all types of stuff like that. I agree. This guy should have a nutritionist, and this guy should have a personal chef who prepares, he has a set schedule of meals he needs to eat during the week, and the chef should be there to make those meals. You should change the way because a lot of times, because I'm a bit on the heavier side, so I mean I know what it takes to have to maintain a diet and stuff like that, just to manage the weight, and it's a lot, man. And most of the time you find yourself in trouble when nobody else is around and you're tempted by so many different things, especially if you have tempting things in your house. I mean, you're tempted by so many different things, man. And I'm not saying that Zion has an eating problem, because most of the time you become bigger when you don't do anything to stifle the increase in weight. Like, you can eat whatever I'm not going to say you can eat whatever you want. Most of the time, eating isn't the problem. It's the not doing anything during the eating, not exercising, not walking, not, for a long period of time, not doing things like that. And that it's strange, but that could be the reason why this kid is bigger. Either that or he has an eating problem. But they got to figure out what the problem is. They got to be hard on this kid. That's what I'm saying. The organization needs to get involved. The organization needs to get him. They need to be as involved with this kid about his weight as are with him about the investment they're putting in him. Because if this kid falls off because of injuries, I mean, your investment is not returned. And Zion is one of the most talked about. He was one of the most talked about high school basketball players, college basketball players to reach the NBA. I mean, they had this kid's career pretty much planned out for him. But, yeah, man, he needs people that cares about him. He needs people that care about his well-being to be in his ear about taking care of himself. And they need to be on him 24/7. And he has to care about himself enough to want to change for himself. That's the only way this is going to work.
What is that?
Yep. All great points. But on this issue, I'm going to defer to Jen Hale because she covers this team and she knows the GM David Griffin very well. What are you hearing?
His return is closing in. We're getting close. They can see light at the end of the tunnel, for lack of a better.
He should not play this year. If I'm Zion, I'm doing everything I can to talk to my agent, talk to whoever my representatives are that I have with me that can possibly make this happen. If I'm Zion, I'm wanting to sit for the rest of the season to get my weight under control. But I don't know if this kid is thinking like that.
Term. To Shannon's point about his weight, the vice president of player care, Aaron Nelson, he did want to redistribute how that torque affects his body. How does that weight come down on the knees and the ankles and the joints? So as long as he was having to recover from this meniscus surgery,
and that's the dangerous thing that I was hoping they wouldn't do. I think they're going to try to manage the way he plays with the weight instead of trying to eliminate some of the weight altogether. Like, I think it's best for him to slim down instead of them trying to work around him being bigger.
be out. Why not take advantage of that opportunity to change those mechanics, to make it so that he can endure a long season?
Hard to do, to your point.
Play 82 games.
Because just think about it, Skip. When you go up, you just come down naturally. You go up, you don't like, okay, I need to make sure my weight is distributed.
And I believe what Shannon is saying is that you're talking about changing the way this kid runs, changing the way this kid walks, you're talking about some serious reprogramming of natural body movements, which is a lot more, one is a lot more complicated, and two might be even more dangerous than the weight itself, because I mean, changing the way somebody walks and changing the way somebody runs is a lot different than changing a jump shot. I mean, instead of just slimming him down, toning his body up to where he can still dunk with some level of ferocity that he has now, but he doesn't have the fucking weight that's applying pressure to his knees, applying pressure to his hips, applying pressure to his back or ankles. Like, but I don't know, man. I just think the road they're going down is very dangerous, man. It's not going to be as simple as, look, we're just going to teach you how to live with the weight instead of changing the weight itself. I think that's dangerous.
Through my quads, take it through my glute muscle. Skip, a lot of his weight is from the waist down.
Yeah,
he's basically Cam Jordan for the New Orleans Saints, the defensive lineman. That's what he is, Skip. He's 280.
When you look at Zion, and I'm going to let the video play a lot more now, but when you look at Zion's body type, he looks round. I mean, sure, he has muscle, a muscle tone, but he looks round. His body shape looks round.
And I guarantee you Zion Williamson outweighs him.
Okay, so the only analogy I can make is when I first started running distance instead of sprints.
Right.
You have to learn to run on the balls of your feet instead of your toes. The plantar fasciitis is horrendous.
Right.
Okay, so you can do that, but that's a small mechanical change as opposed to
Exactly. You're talking about something that's very small. Like, changing a jump shot is different than changing the way a person moves, changing the way a person runs. That's two different things. It's not the same thing. It's
gait change and all that.
You're going heel to toe when you run for distance as opposed to just straight balls to your feet.
Correct. But in this case, I'm starting to wonder, to your point, if they should shut him down. But then if you shut him down, it's like, can you rob Peter to pay Paul? Because you still have to keep his weight down if you shut him down. And I don't know if he's capable of that.
And that's what I said. Like, if they shut him down for the season, the hardest thing about dieting is those times where you're not dieting. Like, let me change that because it sounds wrong the way it came out. The hardest thing about dieting are those low periods where you're not actually focused on the diet. It's like when you're sitting around watching TV, or if you're outside and you're just sitting on the porch and you get the urge to snack on something. You get the urge to eat. You get the urge to do this or do that. Can you stifle those temptations, man? That's the hardest part about dieting, are those little lull periods that you have while you're dieting. Because there is no more, unless you're snacking on like celery or some kind of fruit or something like that. Which, when you spent your life eating junk food and fast food and all this other stuff, snacking on fruits and vegetables are not the same thing as snacking on a bag of potato chips or a fucking soda or something like that. It's not the same thing. That's going to be the hardest part for this kid. Unsupervised, will he be able to keep up with it?
At this stage and age.
Right.
So I love this kid. It's taken a piece out of the whole NBA. They were on last night for a reason. They were the last game of the night because it was the Zion game at Denver, and that would have been a pretty good matchup, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm missing him. We're all missing him, and I want to see him, and I'd like to see him slowly but surely ease back into learning how to play NBA basketball, because I think he's going to be great. You think he's going to be pretty good, but I want to see it. But I'm not sure. Look, the knee surgery he had, it was minor. It wasn't a major reconstruction. So a lot of people can come back, as I told you, like Michael Gallup on my team. I told you on that meniscus tear, which is what he had.
Right.
You can come back in 2 weeks, and Michael Gallup came back in 2 weeks and never looked back, right?
But here's the thing, Skip. Michael Gallup is 210.
I know.
This kid is the thing.
He's kind of a lean 210.
And that's the thing, Skip. And he's not. Just think about 300 pounds going up and down. Charles Barkley said he weighed 280 and he needed to get down to 250, 260.
Yeah.
Well, this kid is above that. So what do you think? He's even more explosive than Chuck was. Skip, I mean, and we had never seen anything like Charles Barkley, a man that size that can move like that, could jump like that. Well, this guy is Charles Barkley on steroids, pardon the prayer. I mean, not he's on steroids, but he's even more explosive than Charles Barkley.
I agree.
But Skip, when you have a surgery, the one thing that you can't do is condition. What are you gonna do, Skip? So now he lost all the conditioning that he could have gotten by practicing.
If Zion is at a point in his recovery from surgery, if he's at a point where he can't do anything, now's the time where the people around him could be giving him information on different diets, different lifestyle techniques that are going to help him when he gets to the point where he's going to have to lose the weight and keep it off. So you see, because before he got to college, I blame his parents. His parents probably let this kid eat whatever he want, consume whatever he wanted, even though he was a basketball player. They probably thought, oh, well, you can eat that. You can eat that because, you're a basketball player, so you're probably going to burn off the calories or whatever. But instead of pretty much being on his ass about the things that he eats and trying to eliminate those things, and I got to look at where Zion is from, like where he grew up at, because, depending on where he lived, depends on the types of food that his mother most likely fed him and the types of diets he had as a kid. And then I blame Coach K because, you've been around for, 30, 40 years, something like that. You mean to tell me that you see a kid with a lot of potential but has a serious weight problem, and you do nothing to anyone's knowledge, you do nothing to try to help him curb the weight, bring it down a little bit. That's why I thought that little thing that he had with his shoe, where his shoe exploded, where they blamed it on the shoe company. I mean, it could just be him. It could be his weight. That's what made the shoe explode. That's what made the shoe fall apart. Is that he's big, and you're moving as much and moving as fast as he's moving, and you're jumping and all this other shit. It probably put too much pressure. I mean, the shoe could have had very low quality, where it was either poorly made or it had cheap materials. It wasn't made correctly or whatever. That could be the thing, man. But I don't think it was. Because I'm pretty sure when you have a kid that has the potential to be one of the one of the faces of the NBA, who's a future, this kid has a fortune wrapped around his name. There's no way I think a shoe company will put him in a defective shoe and risk his career, risk making a lot of people a lot of money, putting him in a really bad shoe of poor quality. There's no way.
And playing in games, he lost all that. Cause remember, he missed the last 2-3 games of preseason. So he missed some in summer league. So he missed summer league, and he missed 2 games
for like 2 minutes of summer league.
Right, and they shut him down to that, and then he missed the last 2 games of the preseason.
Yeah.
So Skip, he's got to get that. Skip, get his weight down. Say, son, we're gonna give you a target weight to this.
I would agree.
Get your weight to here, and we'll let you play.
It won't work that way, especially if he's not used to doing that. They're going to have to put it in his contract and wrap some of his money into it, to where if he can't bring his weight down, if it causes him to miss time, if he keeps getting injured, they're able to recoup some of the money that they invested in this kid. Put a weight clause, try to rework his rookie contract where you can add a weight clause into it. Find a way to do that. And add it as a stipulation, or see if you can add it as a stipulation to the contract. But they're going to have to take it a lot more serious than what I believe they're actually taking it.
Yep, I agree.
Barring any setback, they are not looking at shutting him down, but we will see.
Yes.
We will see. Time will tell.
I just want the best for the young man.
As does everybody. He's a great...
I really wish this kid gets himself together, man, because I do think that this kid could be something special, man, but with all these obstacles this kid has to face, I think that it could seriously, put a damper on this kid's career. And I've seen it happen so many times where every time it happens, it's sad. It's sad to see great talent be wasted because of poor decisions. So hopefully Zion gets himself together. Hopefully the people that care about him actually gets in his ear and convinces him to do better. But in order to do better, sometimes you need the required amount of information, and I don't think this kid is getting it.